Was there anything you didn't feel I covered? Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Smile Back podcast. How is everybody doing today? I hope you're doing well. Thank you guys so much. Great reaction and response to last week's episode. Appreciate it so much. Please stay tuned because we've got a lot more exciting content coming for you. So make sure to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Leave a like and a comment on what you think. And if you're watching on Spotify, leave a review. So let's get into today's episode. All right, I thought I would speak about Smileback, how it was founded, how we started, why we have the podcast, really what the podcast is about, and what the enterprise is about. So, Smileback is a social enterprise. Really, what we want to do is help the initiative of those dealing with mental health, particularly youths and young adults, and from minority and immigrant backgrounds. And I just wanted to share how I got into that, what sparked this journey that we're on, and everything that's to come in the future. All right, so I would start a little bit with my journey with mental health. So, back when I was 18, I would say is when I first experienced anxiety. It was after an event. I didn't know what it was, if I'm being perfectly honest. I just thought I was extremely high strung at the time. And honestly, I would say that nobody around me really knew what was going on. I am high functioning anxiety, so I was still doing everything that I was doing normally, but I would say that I was really dealing and struggling internally. I did not feel the same. My body was not reacting the way that I knew it to react. Basically, during that time, I recall just always waking up feeling a sense of panic, always waking up feeling overwhelmed. And at the time, I just attributed it to what had happened. But I feel like because I never, yeah, I feel like as it prolonged and it wasn't going away, I knew something was wrong. I would say that also I'm Zimbabwean, coming from being an immigrant, a migrant myself, in Africa, in a lot of African languages, in a lot of Asian languages, um, I know that there's not words for anxiety, depression, PTSD. So it's really hard for those around you, especially if they've first generation, or if you're first generation or you've just come from overseas, for them to understand, to sympathize and empathize with what you're going through, because it's just not something that's commonly spoken about in at least in my culture. And so I would say that I really, really dealt with it myself. I believe when I was 18, it was a really close friend of mine that said, "Okay, Gina, you might have anxiety." And I was like, huh? I didn't really believe it at the time, but I would say I just didn't want to feel weak. I didn't want to feel any less strong. And that was just such a terrible mindset to have for myself, because not dealing with your mental health um, is not strength. It isn't courage. You're the one that ends up suffering the most. And I definitely did. I would say wasn't, it was like a year of really struggling. And then the most I did was go on some natural um, anxiety medication, like anxiety and stress relief that you get from like the health food shop. And I was putting on essential oils, but it was a really big struggle. I was really going through it. um, and I would say that, yeah, as I was dealing with it, it was definitely difficult. um, I did start weight training around that time, and I would say that that definitely helped. If you're ever dealing with anything to do with your mental health, I know that it's extremely hard, but something I do find really practical and important is exercise, moving your body, releasing those endorphins. They definitely helped. However, I would say when I turned 21, I was then triggered again. So around that time, my father actually was had gone through a workplace injury, and then he had to go to counseling, and just like the healthy habits that he adopted and all of that, I really was impressed by. And then my best friend at the time was dealing with her own mental health, and she started therapy. And I would say that really impressed upon me because I really felt like she understood what I was going through. And so when she was sharing with me her thoughts, I was on therapy and how much it had helped her and everything. It definitely did encourage me to then go to therapy myself. Um, so I did. I went to therapy when I was 21, and it was the best decision I ever made. The practical way that I did that is obviously, you can go to your local GP, get advisory, get on a mental health plan, and then, yeah, from then I started therapy. And from my first session, I was hooked. I definitely had my apprehensions. With it, with everything that is said, I believe it's just often so like a misconception that therapy is something that you do after a problem or when you're in crisis. But I actually really feel like therapy is something that people should engage in more preventative. I recommend everybody goes to therapy. I always tell my friends, everyone should go, and everyone that does go to therapy, all of my good friends that have gone just have really good things to say. We all share in common just how important it is and how many healthy habits it's helped us to adopt, and even the things that you don't even realize that you do subconsciously really brought it consciously up. I was like, okay, why am I doing that? And you go through that, you unpack, and it was the best thing I ever did. Definitely dealing with my anxiety was the strength and the courage that I needed, because I've always been very ambitious, always been very driven. And so taking and minimizing that negative voice has definitely helped me. And then moving forward from that time, I would say I was doing really well. And I believe it was, I can't be too sure. I'm getting my timelines a little mixed up, but definitely after COVID, I then, yeah, definitely after COVID, I then had something that spurred up my anxiety again. Um, for those that don't know, I actually used to be very into videography. I've always been really creative. I've always loved having a camera in my hands. I remember it really started when I was about 10. Um, my uncle gave me like a camera to take some photos at a party, and I was just like taking these photos and just looking through the lens and looking at things that I wanted to capture, people's smile, the way someone moved. And after the event, we're all looking back at the photos and like, wow, Gina, you're really good. And I was like, yeah, I actually feel like I am really good. And so after that, was into photography, and then I really fell in love with videography. I would always be thinking in my head about, concepts, and like if I was listening to music, I'd be like visualizing a music video and, different shots and angles. And yeah, then I started videography. And so at the time, I was working for an audiovisual company, and I was like, I'm talented. I want to dedicate more of my time and passions to doing videography. And so I thought at that time, yeah, let me bet on myself. Let me quit my job and start videography full time. And yeah, I assumed that everything would take off. I assumed, being talented, getting a camera, eventually, I'd make traction and get some more gigs. And it just didn't happen. And so that sparked my anxiety again. And that was pretty hard to deal with. And getting back to then work was really hard to deal with because I had to give up on the dream that I had of, being a freelancer at the time and going back to a 9 to 5, because I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always used to say when I was little, they're like, oh, what do you want to be? I would always say, oh, I want to be a mogul. I used to watch Kamora Lee Simmons. If anybody else used to watch that in the 2000s, then you know what I'm talking about. So I always had big ambitions and big goals. So that setback was really hard for me. But one blessing that came around that time was prior to doing that, I then got to meet other creatives and other people in the field and other people that, really were doing their thing as freelancers. And that was a blessing that I didn't anticipate. And so, yeah, I went back to work, challenged myself even further, did a lot within the company. And I would say that during that time, it was probably 2022, the start of it. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong, but I was, dealing with anxiety. And so I started listening to Stormzy's album, This Is What I Mean. And honestly, I feel like that album just sparked something, it inspired something within me. It was just hearing a black, creative, successful man talk about his dealings with anxiety, how his faith helped him, how he came out stronger. And I was just like, this is what so many people are dealing with. After COVID, 1 in 3 people are dealing with mental health. And it's just crazy that it's not spoken about as much as it should. It's crazy how stigmatized it still is. When I say I have anxiety, I know that a lot of people have a picture of it in their brain. Because even when I told my closest friends, my best friends, they were like, you have anxiety? And I was like, yeah, I do. Because they didn't think that someone, that was always, speaking to people and extroverted and working could have anxiety, because I think it's so narrowed in. We box these things in and how someone should look and they should fit in that box, but that's just not how it is. That's not the reality of it. I am not my anxiety. Anxiety is something that I have at times, and so I really felt like it was important to then make people aware, because I feel like it's those stigmas that really stop people from being proactive about their mental health. And so that's when I was just thinking about, like, there was a particular song that he kept that was in the album, and it was like, I got my smile back. And it just talks about the journey of, life, and how the journey of life, and how, we can overcome our challenges. And at the end of it, we will smile again, we'll be happy, and just to be resilient. But also at that time, I would say, as I was constantly walking, I was like walking every morning at a particular time. If anybody knows me, I really like to walk. It helps me think. It's where I'm creative. It's where I visualize concepts. And so I was walking, and at the early in the morning, and there would always be older people, walking their dogs or engaging in fitness. And so they would always be smiling at me. And I would definitely say, like, smiling back at them helped during that time. It just helped me to get out of my head. It helped me to feel more gratitude, feel blessed. And so I thought of the name based on that, based on the inspiration of the song, and people smiling at me. And also because I want to be clear that when I talk about Smile Back, I realize so much that it is particularly for people of culture, for anyone that is dealing with mental health. And I know that I talk so much about maybe the stigmas that we come from, being from different backgrounds. But, our parents do so much for us. They sacrificed so much for us, at least mine definitely have, for me to have the life that I have, the experiences that I have, the opportunities that I have. And I'm so grateful to them for that. And so I really wanted Smile Back to be Smile Back for the sacrifices before us, because I feel like without those sacrifices, me, you, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing now. And so that is how I came back with Smile Back. And so what are we doing? Basically, I came up with the idea. I have the concept, and then I would say, yes, it took me, what year are we in now? 2024. That stayed within my head constantly till midway through last year. And that's when I just really got passionate about mental health, because I really saw so many people struggling. And the crazy thing is, I have so many conversations with so many amazing, talented, strong individuals that have had to deal with their mental health. And I feel like something that we need, and that we should continue to cultivate, is community, is talking to our friends, whether it's the strong one or the quiet one, the one that's always helping people, the one that's more reserved. I think it's important for us to check in with our people. Smile Back is about remembering that we have a community and building on that. Because if we're all doing our bit within our one circle, then we can impact, then that can make a great impact even on that scale. And so, yeah, as I was just talking, and I've had the privilege of speaking with so many amazing individuals that themselves have had to deal with their mental health, I realized that, it can feel like such a lonely journey, but we're actually not alone. So many of us shared this lived experience called life, and it's not perfect for anyone. And I just wanted more people to see that, but not in a somber way or in a way that makes us feel down, but just in a way that, it's okay to talk about your mental health. It's okay to deal with those bad days. So, yeah, at the moment, Smile Back is working on some really exciting stuff that I'm just yet to announce. We will announce it soon. And we'll be using half of the proceeds. We'll be using half of the proceeds to go towards different mental health organizations, and initiatives, and do fun events. Just really take care of this community that we're building, really excite everyone. I know that the pod has some amazing people coming on board, some amazing guests we've got lined up, so many things. So I really hope that you guys can join on the journey. And I really wanted to use this time as well to shout out some amazing organizations that I have worked with. So I will just open that up now. So, some great organizations that are doing amazing things for mental health. We've got the guys over at Batia. Check them out. We've got the Bondi Holistic Hub, an amazing place if you're over in the Greater Sydney region to look at holistic ways to help your mental health. We've got Catalyzer. They do amazing opportunities. They offer amazing opportunities for immigrant and migrant individuals. We have Headspace. Check them out. We have Express Yourself Black Man on Instagram. Definitely check them out. And we have La Familia Cafe over in Brisbane. They themselves are a social enterprise. Go get a coffee there. Mark is amazing, and it's the best coffee around. And so, yeah, I'm just really excited about this journey. I feel like I've met so many amazing individuals and organizations that are really supportive, really want to help, really want to make an effect with mental health. And I am very excited to jump on board and to do that myself. And yeah, we have lots of exciting announcements to come in the future, so stay on board. And yeah, I know this one wasn't a long one, but I hope to talk to you guys shortly, and thank you for tuning in.